Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. Today, we're tackling something honestly kind of nerve-wracking. The U.S. visa interview.
Yeah,
It's a big one.
it is.
Whether you're picturing like a family reunion, maybe a dream vacation, or even, a bigger move, that interview, it's a big hurdle.
Huge.
So we're breaking down a YouTube video here. It's from Podcast Speak English.
Okay.
They do a really good job of going through common questions, smart strategies, that kind of thing. But we're not stopping there,
Right.
pointing us to add their expertise and, really help us decode the unspoken rules of this whole visa process.
Yeah.
We have expert speaker and expert speaker's relevant expertise.
Oh.
Are you ready to help us crack the code?
Absolutely. I think, the thing that really trips people up is a visa interview. It's not just about the facts.
Okay.
It's the feeling,
Interesting.
It's convincing a stranger really quickly that you are who you say you are and what you're saying is like legit matches your application.
It's like that saying, it's not what you say, it's how you say it, but like times 10.
Right. Exactly.
Exactly.
This video, they used a mock interview, which I thought was really helpful.
Yeah.
And one question they asked right away was, where are you going in the U.S. and what's the purpose of your trip?
Okay.
And it seems like such a basic question.
Yeah.
What's the big deal, right?
So think of it this way. They're looking for those little things,
Okay.
the stuff that either backs up what you wrote down or kind of goes against it.
I see.
Like just saying visit family, that's vague.
Right.
But if you're like, I'm going to my niece's graduation in Boston, staying with my sister for 2 weeks, that tells them something real.
It paints a picture.
Exactly. The video really pushed being specific, matching your itinerary, all that.
So vivid picture with your words, got it. Now, speaking of things that are important, let's talk about the dreaded torties question.
Oh, yeah.
The video made it clear this is huge.
Oh, it is?
But what are they even asking about with torties? Think of tackies like anchors. The stronger they are to your home country, the less likely you are to, drift away for good.
That makes sense.
A job you're coming back to, a house, heck, even a pet you'd miss terribly.
Right.
These aren't just details. They're proof you're coming back.
It's almost like you're showing them, not just telling them.
Exactly. And that actually reminds me of another thing they talk about, financial independence.
Okay, yeah.
It's not enough to just say you can support yourself. You got to show it.
So what kind of proof are we talking about here?
This is where it gets, strategic. Bringing bank statements. It's not just about showing you have money. It's about showing you're responsible with it.
Ah.
Like you've planned ahead that matters to visa officers.
So it's like saying, I'm not just winging this trip, I'm prepared.
Exactly. And you know what else shows you're prepared? Having your credit card history ready.
Really? They don't ask for that, do they?
They might not.
Uh-huh.
But the video mentioned in having it ready shows you're thinking ahead.
Okay, so it's like that extra step.
Exactly. Like, I'm taking this seriously.
That level of preparation, I bet it makes a difference.
Oh, absolutely. It shows respect, for them, for the process. And that actually ties into another point the video made, understanding the little words, the terms they use.
Okay, like what?
Like sponsor, for example.
Right.
You might not always need one, but knowing when it's a good idea to mention it, having a letter ready, it shows you're in the know.
That makes sense. So they actually recommended bringing a sponsor letter even if they don't ask for it.
To give it like a safety net.
Okay.
You're trying to get rid of any doubts in the interviewer's head,
Yeah.
right? That letter is like someone in the U.S. saying, yep, they're good.
So you're reassuring them that you're not going to be stranded.
Precisely. It's about those intentions again.
Right.
Now, financial independence, it's key. We've established that.
Yeah.
But the video also said, you got to be able to talk about your finances. Like, explain them.
Okay, let's unpack that. What does that mean beyond just, I have money?
It's about stability, showing you're responsible. A strong financial profile. It suggests you've got a life you're going back to.
Yeah.
You're not relying on the U.S. system.
So it's like you're saying, hey, I'm not just here for a visit. I'm here for the right reasons, and I've got my act together.
Exactly. It's about projecting that image.
Yeah.
self-sufficiency, credibility, all of that.
It's like they're not just listening to your words, they're watching how you act too.
Right. And that reminds me, they talked about assets in the video,
Okay.
which that's a big word. It covers a lot.
It does. So what should people focus on when it comes to showcasing those assets?
It's not just about what you have, V. It's about what those things say.
Yeah.
Like a rental property back home, that's good for finances, sure.
Right.
But it also says you have responsibilities tying you back home.
So it reinforces your story.
Exactly. You're connecting the dots for them.
Yeah.
And speaking of connecting the dots, they talk a lot about making your answers match your visa type.
Right, because what works for a tourist visa might not work for a student visa.
Exactly. Each one has its own, purpose.
Right. So how can people listening tailor their answers to the specific visa they're after?
It's about really understanding what each visa is about, you know? Like a tourist visa, it's all about genuine travel, short visits.
Right.
So you talk about your trip, how you're coming back home, that makes sense. But a student visa,
Yeah.
that's different. It's about your goals, your studies.
So instead of just, I'm here to study, it's more like, I'm here for this program at this school because it'll help me do this in the future.
Exactly. Show them you're serious, that this isn't just a way to, stay in the U.S. forever.
Right.
They even suggested having things like acceptance letters, scholarship info ready to go.
Even if they don't ask.
Even if they don't ask. It's that extra level of, hey, I'm prepared.
It's like saying, I'm serious about this and I've got the receipts.
Exactly. Speaking of receipts, we've talked about financial documents.
Yeah.
But it's not enough to just have them. You got to be able to talk about them.
What do you mean?
Like, imagine you hand them your bank statement, right? And they point out a big deposit from a few months ago.
Okay.
If you're fumbling over your words trying to remember, that looks bad.
Right. It seems suspicious.
Exactly. Being able to clearly explain, it shows you're being transparent.
So it's like, practice your financial story, not just the numbers. And that makes me think about something else they emphasized, communication.
Oh, yeah.
But not just the words themselves.
Right, like your body language.
Exactly. They said things like eye contact, a firm handshake, that stuff matters.
It shows respect, confidence, it's universal.
But they also said something really interesting about cultural differences.
Oh, yeah, that's huge, GE. What flies in one culture could be a total no-go in another.
So important. Did they give any specific examples?
They talked about eye contact.
Yeah.
In some cultures, it's respectful, but in others, it can come off as aggressive.
Oh, wow.
Right. Knowing those little differences and adjusting how you act, it shows you're aware,
Yeah.
You're being sensitive.
It's like you're saying, hey, I took the time to learn about your customs. I'm here to do things right.
Exactly. It shows you respect the process, respect them.
Which makes a huge difference. And speaking of making a good impression, they talked about how you dress.
Oh, yeah, first impressions matter. They said you don't need a full-on suit, but
you should still look put together. What's that sweet spot, you think, between too casual and too formal?
think of it like dressing for a job you want, not the one you have.
I like that.
You're trying to show them you're trustworthy. Right.
Yeah.
So business casual is always a safe bet.
It shows you're taking it seriously.
Exactly.
It's amazing how much goes into this. It's not just about the paperwork.
Right. And that's what I like about this deep dive. We're going beyond the surface, you know?
Yeah.
It's not just about the rules. It's about the whole picture.
So beyond just prepping documents, what does it mean to be ready for this kind of interview?
It's about confidence, but not arrogance. Being prepared to answer questions, but not rambling on. And most importantly, showing them you're excited about your trip, but you get that this is a big deal.
So enthusiasm, yeah, but also respect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this is where honesty comes in. They told this story, it was kind of scary actually,
Oh.
about someone who lied on their application, just a little white lie about their income.
Okay.
And it came back to bite them years later.
Wow, really?
Denied their visa, all because of that one lie.
It's like they say, it's not the crime, it's the cover-up.
Right. They were saying honesty isn't just about rules, it's about trust. And once you break that trust,
It's hard to earn it back.
exactly.
So it's not just about this interview, it's about every trip you might take in the future.
Exactly. And this ties into something else they said about making sure your answers match your application.
Which seems obvious, but
But you'd be surprised how many people mess that up.
right.
It goes back to consistency. Any little difference between what you wrote and what you say, that's a red flag.
It makes them suspicious.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like they always say, the truth will set you free, but first.
It might make you sweat a little.
Exactly.
But in this case, that honesty, it's a small price to pay for a shot at that visa. Now, they also talked about knowing the different types of visas.
Oh, yeah, because they all have different rules.
Right, like the B2 tourist visa versus the F1 student visa.
Because the questions they ask, it'll depend on which visa you're after. Like if it's an F1 for studying.
They'll want to know about your academic background.
Exactly. Your grades, your chosen field, how you're paying for it all.
So you got to be ready to talk details.
They even mention the resident visa, which is a whole other ball game.
Oh, right, because that's about potentially living in the U.S., not just visiting.
Exactly. Did they get into what makes a good application for that? They said with that one, it's even more important to show you got ties to the U.S.
Okay, like what kind of ties?
Family, maybe a job offer, things like that.
So it's not just about you wanting to be there, it's that you've got a real solid reason.
Right. You're not just taking any chance you can get.
Makes sense. So it's like you're showing them your whole life, how the U.S. fits into it,
Exactly. It's a bigger picture thing.
not just checking boxes.
Nope. You're telling a story, a good one.
And they actually said something interesting about, like, even if you think you know the U.S., they said, research the culture, the norms.
Oh, absolutely. What flies in one place might not in another.
So true. Did they have any U.S.-specific examples?
They mentioned direct communication, like being upfront,
Okay.
and personal space, like not getting too close.
Oh, right. Because what seems friendly to one person could be, like, too much for someone else.
Exactly. Especially in a formal setting, you know? Got to keep it professional.
So it's like, be friendly, but not too friendly.
Right. Find that balance. Be yourself, but be respectful.
This has been so helpful. I feel like we've gone from 0 to 60 on visa interviews.
My pleasure. I love helping people feel prepared, you know? It makes a difference.
Speaking of which, any last words of wisdom for our listeners? Some people get really nervous about this stuff.
Oh, for sure. But remember, preparation is key.
Yeah.
Do your homework, get those documents in order, practice what you'll say,
Right.
and most importantly, believe in yourself. Believe in your reasons for going.
I love that it's not just about the paperwork, it's about the bigger picture.
Exactly.
Well said. And for everyone listening, we want to hear from you.
Yeah.
Have you ever been through the U.S. visa interview? What tripped you up? What advice would you give?
Good or bad, we want to hear it.
Exactly. Share your stories with us on social media. Let's keep this conversation going.
Absolutely.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those passports ready.
Safe travels, everyone.
See you next time.